Welcome to the Fresh Rewind channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about the 5-gallon bucket watering planters. So the reason I chose to use the self-watering bucket system is because it gets very hot in Houston. In Houston, it can get up to 100 degrees. And in that situation, it would cause you to have to water your plants several times a day. And in my case, it wasn't an option because I had to work and I didn't have that many days to go out and do that type of thing. So the self-watering system has been a godsend in my process. As you can see, I have several 5-gallon buckets set up already and ready to go. The basic parts that you need are 2 5-gallon buckets, drill, hole saw, net cup, and liner. If you're going to go outside, the buckets can last roughly 4 to 5 years. In my case, I'm on my 5th year for many of my buckets. Some of them are starting to deteriorate. Some of mine are on their 5th year and on borrowed time. And so I have a plan set up to extend the life on many of the buckets, but I'm going to do that on another video. So the top bucket is where you're going to have your plants, your soil, and that's the main part of your system. The second bucket is going to be mainly for the reservoir. And the reservoir is going to be roughly 2 inches deep. Please excuse those ashy ankles. I'll do better next time. What you want to do is flip the bucket over, use your hole saw, and drill a hole. This is where you're going to put your net cup. You can get them from any hydroponic store that you like, or you can order them online. In some cases, some people make the net cups. You basically get any cup, like a red Solo cup or something like that, and you just drill holes in the bottom of it, because all you're trying to do is increase the drainage. This is the part where the plant's going to dip down into the bucket of water. I use a hole saw to cut a center of the hole in the bottom of the bucket. You can get a set like I have with multiple sets, or you can just buy just the size that you need. Now, before I start cutting, I need to measure. So to measure, I use the bottom of the net cup to determine the size that I need for the hole. It is better to make the hole too small than to make it too big. If you make it too big, you will have to find a bigger net cup or some other solution to solve the problem. If you drill it too small and squeeze it in, it'll be easier for you to widen the hole to make it work better for you. Now when you get ready to drill, make sure you hold the bucket tightly, because once it starts spinning, it can spin out of control and you could hurt yourself. So remember, safety first. Now that you've cut the hole in the center of it, the next step is change out your drill bit into a drill. Because what you want to do now is you want to put multiple holes in the bottom of it to help with the drainage system. Now what some people like to do is they try, and I've tried it in some of my buckets as well, what some people like to do is now they do the air pruning. So with the air pruning system, you basically cut extra holes on the side of the bucket, and what that's going to do is to help with aeration as well and help the life and the health of the plant. So to help with the wicking process, what you can do is use a Walmart shopping bag, cut a hole in the center. What that's going to do is help wick the moisture up. The other option you have, and I've used this on more of my buckets also, was to just use the plant liner, the fabric type. If you use a fabric type of plant liner, then you can wrap everything at the bottom. Just make sure you make the hole big enough to cover the entire bottom of the bucket, because you're trying to prevent too much soil from falling through the bucket into the water rotting. Now it's time to start putting the soil into the bucket. But first, you want to make sure you put the right items in the net cup. So in an ideal situation, you use clay pellets. The clay pellets will be best for putting in the net cup part, but they can absorb water and they won't rot, and it will help with the moisture wicking. The other option, you could use rocks. That'll work also. Some soil will get in there to help moisten up, but the roots are going to dig down into it, and so it's going to be fine. Or you can use coconut coir or other items, but be careful whatever you put at the bottom, that be aware that it's going to be sitting in water most of the time and it could rot. So even if you're using soil, that'd be okay, but just be mindful that you don't want to keep too much water sitting there too long, because that soil will rot. You can see by looking at this bucket here how the system works. So you can see how there is just a small reservoir of water sitting at the bottom of the bucket, meaning that the plant is not constantly sitting in water, but yet it can dip down into it and soak it up as it needs. So before you start to fill the bucket, what some people like to do is put in a fill tube that's going to go along the inside of the bucket on the edge. What they would do is just water the plant through the fill tube. Works out great for most. In my case, I chose not to go that route. One, I have to be careful of mosquitoes where I live, so I don't want to have any standing water or any type of way that the mosquitoes can get to it. I have a system where all of my buckets are connected, but I'm going to show more about that in another video. So for the bottom bucket, an ideal bucket would be a black bucket because it's better for outside. The black buckets in many cases are thicker. Also, they aren't going to break down as quickly. Another reason that you have the black bucket is because it's going to block out the sun's rays. You don't want to have too much sunlight getting through. If you have sunlight getting through onto the water, it's going to create the algae. The algae is going to eventually clog up your system. Black buckets are great. So if you don't want to purchase them, now in some cases purchasing a black bucket can be more expensive than the other ones because of the way they're designed, or you can just spray paint a bucket black. Either way, black is a better way to have the bucket to extend the life. And you can get the black buckets at hydroponic stores. Some of the box stores carry them as well. They can cost a little bit more. Now, if you're going to have your buckets outside, another thing to consider is you need to put a drain hole on the outside bottom bucket, roughly 3 inches from the bottom. What that would do is, on a rainy day, the rain would go up to the fill hole and eventually fall out. So the reason you want to have the drain hole is you don't want to have the plants just sitting and drowning in water. So by putting the drain hole, it'll automatically empty out after a rain. Otherwise, you would have to be mindful and go out and empty the bucket out after the rain, because the plants, although they love water, they don't want to sit and soak in water too long. You'll basically drown the plant by doing so. So as I mentioned earlier, you want to either put clay pebbles or something inside the net cup. Then you put your grow medium, whatever type of dirt you want. Preferably a loose soil would be better because it helps with the capillary system. You don't want to have it too compacted, too much clay. It'll compact and then the roots won't be able to dig down into it. After you filled it with the soil that you want to soak it with water. That would help get the wicking system started and make a better environment when you put your plant in. And now you can put whatever plant you please. So you can see here I have several plants set up and they're all connected in my system. And so I'm ready for the spring and summer to go. I'm currently slowly adding plants as they mature and getting ready. Now, several of mine I kept the handles on because it makes it easy for me to move them from place to place. If I chose to, I can simply pull out the top bucket and put them in another area if the plant is growing too big or too small, or depending upon how things go, I have that choice. Now, once they get toward the end of their life cycle, then the handles won't work because they'll be too brittle. This is a quick garden tour. So this is my aquaponics system. So the basic setup is the fish are at the bottom, and as you can see, the water is draining currently from the grow bed area. And all of my fish, they like to hide toward the back of the bucket. I have 6 koi fish in there currently. So I'm growing spinach, carrots, pineapples, collard greens, sweet potatoes. So the sweet potatoes, I'm not growing sweet potatoes in there. I have sweet potato starts, Swiss chards, and this is my swell filter. And this is the top grow bed, obviously. These are my collard greens, mustard greens. This week I pulled up some of my mustard greens and it was great for dinner. Bok choy, sweet bell pepper, peas, and on a trellis. Artichoke, yellow tomato. This is my seed starter tray. A flower patch, another pineapple, strawberries, and now some more freshness. Please like and subscribe.
Attention. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention?
Fresh Revive.